Hello, everyone. This is a Let's Play for Interplay's 1990s Lord of the Rings game. It's a two-parter, one for the Fellowship of the Ring, one for the Two Towers. There was a planned Return of the King game, but that never got made. It's a kind of hybrid adventure game RPG. I'll show a bit more when we get to the actual mechanics of it, see the gameplay itself. This first session is mostly going to be about showing the actual nuts and bolts of the mechanics of the game. And I'm just going to state at the outset, I'm not going to try to 100% this game, but I am going to try to explore fairly widely, and I want to end the Two Towers with as strong fellowship characters as I can manage. Without further ado, let's start it up. There is this musical theme, which is nice, but does get repetitive eventually because it does not stop. There's no other music in this game. There's a brief introductory sequence, but I assume anybody watching this knows about the plot of Lord of the Rings, so I'm just going to skip past it. And let me turn the music off so that's a little easier to talk. So here we are, starting with Frodo. Every character has these 6 stats. Dexterity is mostly for what order you move in combat, and has a bit to do with like hitting opponents and avoiding being struck. Strength controls mostly how hard we hit and what sorts of weapons we can use. Endurance and life are how many hit points we've got. Luck has some combat effectiveness, especially again in not getting hit, but also certain things that we'll run into will test against characters' luck. And willpower mostly seems to do with how well we resist the ring. In general, hobbits have pretty good dexterity, very good willpower, and pretty good luck, but are low on strength and endurance and life. This will attack someone, but we don't want to pick a fight with anyone. This is for picking up items. This is for using items that we already have. This is for skills. This is for magic. This is for talking. And these two are for reordering stuff at the Fellowship. There's nothing to pick up around here, so we can't do that for now. And right now we only start with 2 items, the ring and the key to Bag End. I'm going to, using the Talk tab, we can talk to our Fellowship members, and we can also induct them into the Fellowship. This game, by the way, loves the number 10. You can have at most 10 party members, 10 spells, 10 skills, 10 items, etc. Oh, note how we used to have 0 silver, now we've got 5. Pippin has 5 silver pennies. Silver pennies are money that is used for buying things in some of the stores that we'll run into. I'm actually going to use Sam to illustrate this because next up are our skills, and Sam is a good candidate for this. Sam knows 6 skills: Brawl, Charisma, Hide, Read, Hobbit Lore, and Jump. Brawl is in what I'm going to call the first category of combat skills. When you get into combat, you don't have to activate them or anything. Just if you have Brawl, you're better at fighting without weapons. If you have swords, you're better at fighting with a sword. If you have bows, better with bows, etc. Most of Sam's skill list, Charisma, Hide, Read, Jump, are things that are activatable. If you have something that's dangerous and the game recognizes that you can hide from it, you use the hide skill, and if it's something, again, the game will recognize, you'll get 1 outcome if you hide versus not hiding. Hobbit lore will react in regard to certain prompts. You don't have to activate it, but the game will check that, oh, if you're looking at this thing, it checks to see if anyone in the party has Hobbit lore. If it has that, it will give one set of information. If nobody has it, you will get a different set or none at all. Frodo has slightly different skills. He's good at climbing, jumping, perceptive, and reading, and he has more lures than the gardener. Pippin has brawl as well, pick, lock, sneak, climb, and jump. All of our hobbits also know the magic word of crying for help. There's basically two forms of magic in this game. Words of power like this are basically one-use things that activate in response to prompts, as opposed to general spells that can be reused over and over. I'll go more into spells when we get someone who can actually cast some. Sam and Pippin are not quite as good as Frodo, but it's good to have people in the party. The game does have, in some ways, a regrettable tendency to make skills and certain reactions all or nothing. So we can see there's a bit of a cliff here, and as I try to walk across it, we cannot. However, we can use Frodo's climb skill, and now we can. And any climb skill would work for this. So as long as you have one person in the party who can climb, or later there'll be things we want to jump over, as long as anyone can jump, as long as anyone can read the scroll, whatever, you can get... There's no chance of failure, which is why in some ways I characterize this more like an adventure game. It does mean that as you progress and get more and more people into the fellowship, there are fewer and fewer things that can hurt you. But maybe we should actually do some stuff. So we're in front of the door to Bag End, and as long as we have the Bag End key, we can lock and unlock the door. We've entered Bag End, widely renowned as the most comfortable hole in Hobbiton, till recently home of the Baggins family. Well, the Sackville Bagginses are a branch of the Baggins family, so I don't know what that's talking about. I am going to make my own comments about Lord of the Rings as we adventure through this. Remember the voice of Gandalf, blah, blah, blah. A few months ago in this room, as he tells us that we shouldn't go alone, but we should go. It's time to leave the Shire. Well, in a bit. We're going to look around and get things first. Over here in the library, there's something that's very important to the structure of the game. It tells us to read paragraph 182. The game, as originally published, was, again, this was a 1990s game, and it was on floppy disks, and there was a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of space for the game. So to save anywhere they could, they actually published a lot of the game information in a booklet that came with it, and you had to, in this case, read paragraph 182 to get the following. You've entered the Library of Bag End. There are many books of Hobbit lore, as well as several volumes of Elven lore from Rivendell. You loathe the idea of Lotho fingering Bilbo's beloved books, but somehow doubt that Lotho Pimple has the imagination or curiosity to ever look at them. Because this is a library, perhaps we should use read, which gives us another paragraph of 117. 117 says, a note from Bilbo says, must ask the Brandybucks about Old Forest. You put this down for a copy of something far more interesting, the Lay of Lethen, the Song of Beren and Luthien. It says that as Luthien danced by the shores of the river Esgildil when the world was young, some of the waters of Middle-earth still remember her. In places where the elves still dwell, her memories will stir the waters to a powerful defense even against the mightiest of foes. We also find a letter from Gandalf. Okay, he'll be by the Prancing Pony, hopefully, or at the very least he'll have friends here. There's a lot of reading in the game, and I tend to read faster than I can talk, so when I try to read out loud, sometimes I skip over stuff. Generally, I'm going to provide a summary of what's being said, as opposed to reading every word. If there's any objections to it, please, if you don't like it and want me to read through word for word, please leave something in the comments. Interestingly enough, reading through that gave us a word of power Luthien, which we can use in a place where there's water and elves, apparently. Over in Bag End, we also have some storerooms, giving us rations and a torch. Rations are food which can heal us, and the torch is both a source of light and a weapon. I'm giving both to Frodo for now. We also have a chest in this room, which, oops, we forgot the key, but fortunately Pippin can picklock, and again, because of the way skills work in this, anyone with picklock can open anything that is locked and is vulnerable to picklock, so there's no like, oh, Pippin can't do this, but maybe somebody who's better at picking locks will. It just works. We get another set of silver pennies. We have 5. There should be 65 in there, so yeah, we're up to 70. Nice little sum of travel money. Nothing else we need in Bag End, so let's lock up. There's no actual significance to that, but it just feels right. Over here, we have other hobbits who live in the area. Unlike our companions, sometimes you'll find people who only have like one little prompt, but most people you can ask questions to. The game operates on, if you've played other like late 80s, early 90s RPGs, a type in your keyword, and if it recognizes it, it will give a response. If it doesn't, it will give some sort of non-answer. So if I just type in gibberish, he says he doesn't know anything about that. If we add, like most people know stuff about news, there's a drunken dwarf at the Green Dragon in Bywater asking for a burglar, and we can follow up. Green Dragon. Green Dragon. Ale isn't as good as it used to be. And he knows about a few other things like Lotho and Lobelia. Oh no, there goes the neighborhood. In general, you don't ever actually need to question anyone. It's useful for your own edification, and there are several quest lines where you will need to ask people about them to find out. But you can, if somebody tells you that the treasure is buried on the hill, but you just go there with a shovel and dig it up, you don't need to talk to the person to be able to dig there or get the treasure, as a hypothetical. With that, that's the talking system in place. So let's try to show off the combat system as kind of a one last thing before I end this video, as a brief tour of the mechanics. Oh no, there's a little girl here. Bad doggies. I cannot type. Yeah, I think we should be responsible adults and make her come with us, which fortunately Sam can do with his charisma skill. That tells us to see paragraph 40. What's that one? I am looking through an electronic document, by the way. I'll link a copy to a PDF of the rulebook, so in case anyone wants to follow along with this stuff. Paragraph 40 says, Taffy tries to smile and says she'll go with you. She says her friend Freddie Grubb fell into a cave and hurt himself. She wants you to keep the doggies away from her and find her friend. Well, let's go do that. Ooh, bad doggies. Let's run away before they eat us. Child's jacket flutters in front of the cave on the cliff face. That might be useful. Oh no, we fell down. Going this way, I did want to illustrate that, but it's possible. Cave is full of webs and stinks of good meat gone bad. This area is dark. Some places are dark. So if we did not have the torch, you can still move around and stuff, but it's quite dangerous without it. So you always want to keep some source of illumination handy in case you need it. Nothing to get with perception. I think these are supposed to be spider webs. Now, combat. Combat's fairly basic in this game. It's turn-based. You go in sequence. The sequence is largely determined by your dexterity. and you mostly just run up and hit each other. There aren't like special moves or techniques or anything. So we can attack the spider. We missed. Spider missed, good. Unfortunately, there is a lot of just standing around and wailing on each other until something. I'm not so desperate that I'm sending a child into the fray. Okay, we did some damage. And yeah, if your dexterity is high enough, sometimes you can go twice or more. While so like Frodo here has gone twice before Pippin's gotten a chance to go. And we are slowly whittling the spider down. Ow. That's good. And we killed the spider. That gives us paragraph 4. Oh, I'd forgotten about this. Yeah, there's the You Wanna Fight music. Freddy is free from the spider, but badly wounded. He's doing his best not to sob and is overjoyed to be with people who will help him get home. He joins your party. Several items are scattered nearby, including the bones of a dwarf that died trussed up like a roasting pig, an old axe, a star-shaped key, and a weather-worn scroll with legible dwarf runes in his hand. The scroll is readable. So Freddy has automatically joined us. He's kind of a cute kid. You'll note that as a hobbit child, he has no skills, no magic, and his stats are terrible. But we'll return these kids to their parents. We can pick up the axe, and I'm going to give the star key to Sam. And if we read, in Dwarven runes, the scroll reads, Dear Bilbo, come visit us in Casa Doom, Balin. Wonder how Balin's letter got so badly misplaced. So the chasm here, it's like the cliffs earlier. As long as anyone can jump, we can just hop over in complete safety. I'm just going to save. There's set into the stones a slab with a star-shaped hole. We cannot pick this lock, but we do have a star-shaped key. By the way, I am going to use saves here. There's only 2 save states, but I am going to use them just to kind of illustrate alternate possibilities. Over here, carved in stone, a mighty robed king supports the roof with one hand and wields a sword with the other. Elven script surround a star-shaped depression. The standing king wears a brilliant ruby on his breast. So we can take the stuff. And here, let me save. Let's look around or read. Perception and read are almost always good ideas just to get to know what's going on. Text reads, Star of the North, light of future glory. When next I see thee, I shall know the hour of need has come. So let's try using the star key. The statue stirs to a ghostly form with echoing whispers. The spectre solemnly intones, the shadow draws close and oaths must be unbroken. I go to wait at the appointed place. Will you bear my legacy to the king? We say yes, and we can take his money and his ruby, bringing us up to 100. If we did not do that, if we just try to take the stuff, the statue steps from the funeral bier spirit form and draws its sword, and he attacks us, and he is way stronger than we have a chance. So we are all going to die about now. If you fall below 6 hit points, you go unconscious, and if you're unconscious, you lose a hit point every round until you die. And with the fellowship wiped out, we get the lose message. I think I'll wrap this one up for today, and in the next video, which hopefully should come out in a couple of days, I'm going to more substantively play the game and show what the play experience is really like, and less pontificating about mechanics. Hope you enjoyed this, or at least tolerated it, and it will get better in the next one.